and Forrest, back to you October the 5th, 2025. I could have kept that going for a little bit longer, but that's okay. We'll just go
You
ahead and
could.
keep that towards the end of it.
That's a DA move.
Hey, I don't care if it's a DA move or not. You know what? If you want to control the daggum thing, I'll send you the stuff, and then you can control the daggum thing.
Well, I want to give a shout out to my Denver Broncos. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles
Yes,
today.
they
So,
did, and that was one of my predictions on the NFL picks of the week. So I'm
hey,
actually happy. Another prediction I got correct was the Saints got their first win over the Giants. That was my correct
yeah.
prediction. I was so you know me, I'm not a big Spencer Rattler guy, but on ATFS last week, I'm like, you know what, go Spencer Rattler. I believe you and you Spencer Rattler. They called me crazy. They're like, so we do something a little bit different this year on ATFS. So we're doing our game predictions, whatever. So we just instead of going through the entire NFL schedule, the entire college football, we decided to break it down. And so for
Yeah.
the NFL this past week, I had the Giants and the Saints as my call out. And they're like, why is this your call out game? I said, it's very, very simple, gentlemen. The Giants had one win. Whenever I chose these games, at the time, both of them were over. This was before the Giants won their first game
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
I said, I
And I
picked
still head scratching how they beat the Chargers.
I said exactly, and of course the Chargers lost again today, the Commanders. But
Yeah.
of course I'm scratching my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm picking the Saints to win. Everybody thought I was crazy. I'm like, nope, the Saints are getting their first win. It's gonna happen. Mark it down. The Saints are gonna get the first win. So
You know how you should.
congratulations,
You know how you should enter
to
that
Doyle
show.
Rules. Do it now.
You know how you should enter that show
What's that?
on Tuesday. You should enter it as when the Saints go marching in.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna do that. Now that you mentioned that, I'm gonna do that as soon as we start. And I don't know if I'm hosting this. I mean, it's either gonna be me or Jacob that hosts this week. Alex is on vacation the next 2 weeks, so I don't know if it's me. I'm gonna start singing when the Saints go marching in. I'm gonna do that. That's a great idea. It's a great idea. All right, so we got a great show for you. We were gonna take the week off. We're like, no, we can't do it. We can't take the week off. There's way too
Actually,
much at
I'll.
stake. There's way too much crap that went on in college football yesterday for us to
Yeah,
take the week
Billy.
off. There's as soon as I started seeing all this nonsense, I was texting Brad out West. We are not taking tomorrow off. We got a lot to discuss. So, Brad, so it's very, very simple. So everybody's talking about Penn State losing to UCLA. That has got to be one of the worst losses in the history of a conference, of a football program, whatever the case may be. It has to be one of the worst losses. We'll get to that here in a minute. But Vanderbilt Commodores come up short. The score was way closer. Alabama scored a useless touchdown toward the end. But I still think Vanderbilt proved that they can compete in the SEC. And I do believe, had they not turned the ball over, had you not turned the ball over, there at that drive where they're about to go up 14-0, it had been a totally different ball game. That the crowd got to him, and I thought Bama just executed much better in the second half. So shout out to that. So anyway, all right. So I think everybody is talking about Penn State losing to UCLA, which in my mind, like I'll go back and say, that is the worst thing that could happen right now for the Big Ten Conference. Because Brad, one of the things that you and I had discussed earlier in this season that it was that the Big Ten had taken over as the toughest conference. I'm not so sure now. I think it's the SEC still. I think the SEC has proven that, especially with how tough their schedules have been and everything like that. And one of the things that I will say this: I still think Oregon and Ohio State are among the top five in the country right now. I really do. Um, and so like I said, we're going to have a playoff ranking. We're going to go through playoff rankings. I think at least, if not every week, every other week, we'll do something like that. Especially if it's something, if it's one of those weeks where everybody wins, we're like, you know what, the heck with it. We're just going to move on. And so,
Yeah.
but I think this with the playoff ranking, the first playoff rankings don't come out until November the 2nd, the day after my daughter's 14th birthday. And
And my
so
mother's birthday that day. So
your mother's birthday is November 1st. I forgot about that.
number second. Number second.
November. There you go. There you go. And so, all right. So, Cincinnati being Iowa State yesterday, I thought that was a big statement win for Cincinnati because Cincinnati's actually showing way more
Yeah.
success than what Fickle is over at Wisconsin. So, this is a three-part question that I'm going to let you start off with first. First of all, let's scratch the fact we already know the Penn State loss is in the way. So here's question number one. Question number one. Is the Big Ten that weak this year, or did Penn State just have a bad day? That's the first question.
Well,
So
you
so
also
we'll start with the first question. Is the Big Ten weak, or did Penn State just have a bad day?
well, I want to also mention too, although not as big of an upset, Texas did lose to Florida at Florida
We'll
as
get
well.
to that later.
I'm just saying because Billy Napier's ass has been saved again.
It's like breaking news. 10-year extension. Peter Manning.
Anyway,
Oh well.
no, anyway, James Franklin is starting to have what I call a Mark Richt problem. I talked to you about this last week. We texted about this. In case nobody knows who Mark Richt was, he was the previous coach at Georgia before Kirby Smart. And if Mark Richt won a bunch of games at Georgia. I mean, matter of fact, he's the all-time winningest coach in Georgia history. In fact, or second, one of the two. He's right there. And he won a couple of SEC championships. As a matter of fact, he came very close to going to the national championship. You remember when Alabama tackled the Georgia receiver on the 2-yard line a few years back in 2012, somewhere right there. It's when Alabama played Notre Dame and killed him. So whoever won that game was going to win the national championship. So that's probably the closest they got. And James Franklin hasn't won a Big Ten title in 8 years. But to answer your question, I think personally that Penn State had a bad day. That's be my opinion.
Okay, yeah, and I could agree. I could agree with that, and I think there's a little bit more to it than as far as Penn State having just a bad day. UCLA was the worst team, one of the worst teams in college football. Let's get that out of the way.
Oh yeah,
they were over. This was their first win. Okay,
imagine this: they were worse than Arkansas.
They're worse than Arkansas. That's how bad this team is. Okay, that is how bad this team is. I'm gonna go over. Let me find the game real quick.
With losses with UNLV. And New Mexico.
Yes, they lost. So they have lost two. Here we go. Let me pull this schedule. They got blown out by Utah. Utah's not a terrible team, but they're not great.
No,
as we've seen. They're not even in the top 25. They're decent. They're not even in the top 25 anymore. I don't think they are anyway. Lost to Cousin Eddie with UNLV.
They're 5-0 though.
Blown out. They were blown out by New Mexico. By New Mexico.
The Lobos. Go Lobos.
And they're actually New Mexico's actually not bad. They're not bad, but they're not. Big Ten. They're not Big Ten football.
They're second behind UNLV right now in the Power West.
They lost to Northwestern.
Northwestern's horrible. Northwestern is
horrible. It didn't beat Penn State. Of all the teams on their schedule, I were to look at besides
25-point underdogs too.
25-point underdogs. But I mean, this is kind of. It's kind of the concept, though, Brad, because one of the things that we've seen with Jace Franklin, the pattern that we've had over the years with Jace Franklin with Penn State, he can't win the big ones. We haven't seen this very much. We haven't seen him lose to unranked teams very much. We've always seen him up in the top 10 somewhere with this Penn State program, and rightfully so. This guy brought a Penn State program who had been down in the dumps because the Jerry Sandusky scandal, and they bring him in, and he made Penn State relevant overnight again. Let's remember, Penn State was almost at the death penalty whenever he acquired them, and they wanted to give them the death penalty.
They had a coach in between him, though, O'Brien.
I know, but O'Brien didn't do anything with them.
He did pretty well with those restrictions. I mean, he went.
With the restrictions, yes, but
he won 9 games one year. I mean, 1 year he had 9 games.
I'll agree with you. With the restrictions, yes, but not on the James Franklin level.
Well, he didn't have a chance to.
Well, true, but I mean, but even then, he got fired. I mean, whatever the case may be.
He left for the NFL to Houston, Texas.
And that's fine, whatever the case may be, whichever way.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, he did not have them on the same level as James Franklin has consistently put them on. Remember, SMU didn't recover from the death penalty; they did not recover from those restrictions. You could argue, in the last decade or so, because they have had great success as far as a program goes and everything like that. And something else, Brad, I did not realize is that SMU is actually one of the richest schools in the country. I did not know that.
Of course, that's why they got the death penalty. They had
Exactly. So I didn't realize
And
that
so,
until someone brought
and
that up to me
now,
today.
and
I
now that
always
you can do, now that they can do this stuff, guess what? These big donors that were
Yep.
probably, they're back, baby.
I slow down, relax,
I'm talking
relax.
about the donors.
Okay, the
They're
donors are
back.
back.
They're
Right,
back.
right. Okay, yeah, they're back. They're back. It's like we couldn't do this a few years ago. Here's a few million right here. Either way, so anyways, so basically though, but like I said, SMU was not able to ever fully recover from their death penalty. As far as I mean, they like I said, you could argue the last decade because they have been relevant. Penn State went from the bottom. They were at the bottom and give O'Brien credit, but he didn't have them on the level that James Franklin had as far as being relevant. He's always been in the top 10. I don't recall a time. Of course, you correct me. I haven't looked this up, but I'm not sure that they haven't been in the top 25 at all during his tenure there until now. I could be wrong.
No, yeah, 2001. Remember when Arkansas beat them? They were like 7-6.
You mean 2001? That was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
2001. But hey, too long. 4 years ago when Sam Pittman
2001. 2001 was well more than 4 years ago, my man. You mean
remember
21.
2021. I'm sorry,
That's
21.
I was about to say.
Remember Sam Pittman's 9-win season?
Yes,
that was against a 7-6 Penn State team.
Okay, so recently, okay, I got you now. Okay,
yeah.
Now we're on the same page.
Yeah.
But either way though, they've stayed very, very relevant. And I honestly thought this year would be the best chance he's had to win the Big Ten this year.
He got about returning back.
Exactly, and this is just kind of to show you that that the transfer portal they really need to start taking effect of the transfer portal. I think if anybody in their right mind can look at Penn State, because Penn State was one of them that returned a lot of starters. Another team that returned a lot of starters was Clemson, and Clemson's out of the top 25. And yes, I understand that they blew out North Carolina. North Carolina's terrible. That doesn't even count.
They're going to be mentioned later on this show, but anyway, go ahead.
I swear if you put them in the rankings, I swear I will mute you and I will do the show by myself. Anyways.
No, they're not on that rankings. Come on, I'm not that crazy.
Okay, I'm just saying, just in general. So either way though, but I mean, it just with the expectations they have at Penn State. So here's my second question: do they give James Franklin a slap on the wrist for this one, or do you think there's something more to it?
Well, I was going to bring back Mark Richt on this situation. So if you remember the end of Mark Richt era at Georgia, it started kind of getting a downturn a little bit. I think his last season it went 8-5, if I'm not mistaken. But there was some disciplinary issues. There was different issues that affected him on the field too. But the big thing was for Georgia fans is he couldn't win the big one, and he started losing games that he shouldn't lose. He started losing to Vanderbilt when James Franklin, ironically, was there. Although James Franklin did have Vanderbilt good, but you're Georgia. You're still Georgia. He was losing to Vanderbilt. He was losing to other teams. And finally, Mark Richt was shown the door after 15 seasons. And again, those 15 seasons, if you look at Mark Richt's resume, if you look at James Franklin's resume, and if you look like right now the Arkansas job, would a team like Arkansas take those both resumes? Oh, heck, they would. I mean, they would take both of them. But unfortunately, and of course, prayers for Mark Richt because he is battling Parkinson's. He is battling Parkinson's disease if nobody knows that. But at any rate, the point is, though, James Franklin's got a Mark Richt problem. And it's a similar, there's some parallels there where, if James Franklin don't ride this ship pretty soon, it could get pretty ugly. I'm pulling up Penn State's
I'm doing that right now as far as the record schedule goes because I need to speak on a couple of things that I want to reiterate.
I was going to say this just real quick. They got Northwestern, Iowa, Ohio State, and Indiana. If they don't go 3-1 in that stretch, at least, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was waiting on you. What's up?
Well, if they don't go 3-1 in that stretch, they're going to be really yelling at James Franklin and to fire James Franklin. So, but anyway,
no, you're good. So I was going to read it. So Bill O'Brien was there 2 seasons. So I mean, he actually
Yeah.
had an 8-4 and he had a 7-5 record. So I didn't misspeak on that part. James Franklin, his first 2 seasons, he went 7-6. From that point up until 2020 and 2021, which was tied for his worst seasons anyway. In 2020, he was 4-5. 2021, as we know, he was 7-6, and that's when Arkansas beat him in the Outback Bowl. You look on the every other year, but those 4 years that he's been there, and he's been there since 2014. He's been there quite a while. He has had them
11 seasons.
He has had them in the AP poll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times out of his 11 sequence. This is the first time he's dropped out in quite a while. It's been a while since they've dropped out. The 2021 season was the time they dropped out. They were actually preseason ranked 19th. They had a highest ranking of 4, and then they dropped out toward the end. That's the last time we saw a dropout was in 2021. But the last 3 years, he has been very, very relevant, and it just seems like we've coming back to. He's not winning the big ones, and so this is. I think it's going to get to a point where, Penn State fans are going to get, like you said, they're going to get to a point where they're going to start screaming to fire him, if they're not already doing that.
They have. And in the Oregon game, the student section was chanting fire James Franklin after the end of the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, they started passing the ball and actually made the comeback and nearly won.
All right. So here's my third question. Who would they get if they fired him?
Well, if James Franklin, now here's the crazy part about James Franklin. They're not firing James Franklin unless they can negotiate a buyout, which CBS, there was an article I was reading that maybe that's what James Franklin should do, is try to negotiate a buyout with Penn State to kind of part ways, because it looks like that this relationship might not work at the end. If Penn State comes open, it's going to be a job that everybody will want. I mean, it's going to be one of those prestigious jobs. It's in a good area where you can recruit very well, but also transfers. They got money, Ricky. They got money in their football budget. So the transfer portal, the NIL, all of that looks very good for Penn State. So anybody's going to want that job. I mean, I would say this with this situation with Penn State. Penn State, the difference between Penn State and Georgia, when Georgia was in a situation where they fired Mark Richt, was when Georgia fired Mark Richt, there was no transfer portal, and there was no NIL, that sort of thing. And so when they hired Kirby Smart was still the defensive coordinator at Alabama. And then Georgia came calling. Of course, that's Kirby Smart's also alma mater. He went to Georgia. And so when they came calling, of course, Kirby said yes, and he's won 2 national championships since. But they have to be very careful with this selection, because it can go wrong too, because you are risking firing a successful, or at least mutually parting ways with a successful coach that has had good success. I mean, I get he's only won, I think he's won 2 Big Ten titles, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he's won any.
I know he's won 1, because they play USC in the Rose Bowl one year, and they lost a thriller in that game. But I think he's won 2 Big Ten titles, but none here recently, though, and that's the big deal. The question is, if they fire James Franklin, who would they get? I mean, if I was Penn State, and if I had to, make that decision, you have to go. I'm not going to say, I don't know who they would exactly get, because right now, not many names are coming to my mind as far as candidates that I think they would seek after. I mean, you could go after a guy like Dan Mullen from UNLV, that's pretty established and has had success. You could go after the Virginia coach. He's done very well at Virginia. I mean, you talk about a guy that built a program from the ground up. I mean, that Virginia coach, he's done a very, very good job there. I would say I can't think of his name at the top of my head. Um, you know, that's going to be the decision. That's going to be the hard part. I can't. There's a couple names I would suggest right there. I mean, because I don't see anyone else really. Maybe Key from Georgia Tech could be a good candidate. Although, again, he's at his alma mater. I mean, you'll be tugging on the heartstrings there, but I mean, there's a possibility there. I tell you a good one, I would say, although I don't think he would want to leave, is Lane Kiffin, but at least we give a phone call and say, hey, would you be interested? Because he's going to have a lot more resources at Penn State than he would at Oxford, Mississippi. That'd be another name I would probably grab the phone. The Arizona State head coach could be a possible candidate as well, which he made the playoffs last year. And I mean, although he's not, I mean, they're still 4-1. They're still in the Big 12 wet race, so he can still get to the playoffs. But I mean, those are a few names right there. If you say, hey, who would I call? Also, to the BYU head coach, I would make a phone call. But again, that's pulling on the heartstrings. I don't know if he would leave BYU for Penn State. But those are a few names I would call right there to see, to gauge to see if there's an interest. But, Penn State's got to be very careful with this decision because in one sense, I kind of see in the parallels between him and Mark Richt where this could end very ugly. I'm also, as well, you don't get a Kirby Smart to come to your program all the time. And we both know that too. So Georgia got very fortunate that Kirby Smart ended up being a success, which, Kirby learned from the best. So, I mean, I think Kirby was going to be successful, but I don't think anybody really predicted he was going to be successful at the level he's been so far and been consistent with it. But those are a few names I would get. But Penn State's got to be very careful with this situation. But at the same time, when you start losing money, you're starting to lose boosters. You're starting to get disgruntled fans, just like we see at Arkansas right now. We have boosters, all of a sudden they say, okay, yeah, I'm willing to step up now. But again, we had a coach that they weren't willing to step up for. So, I mean, you could have the same situation very easily at Penn State. I mean, I say they're going to get as bad as Arkansas, but it could be where they have 75, 76 seasons very easily.
Okay, so first of all, half the coaches you mentioned wouldn't even be called. I just want to point that out.
Why is that?
Because Virginia's coach is just now seeing success, which don't get me wrong, I'm happy for Virginia's success.
Hey, he built it from the ground up.
He did, and I will give you credit for that. But you can't. You got to have more success than just one season to actually show, hey, you can build a program from the bottom up. You've got to get somebody that's in there who either has proven themselves time and time again in college football or even in NFL. You could possibly get an NFL guy to come down and coach Penn State. I don't know which route they'd go. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know which route they'd go. But I'm going to tell you right now, if they call Lane Kiffin, which I think Lane Kiffin would be the top candidate on the board, because the simple fact is anybody in their right mind would leave Ole Miss to go to Penn State. Penn State is, I know it's one of two top tier jobs in college football. To me, I still think Notre Dame and Penn State are the two jobs in college football any coach would want on their resume.
Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State.
Maybe Ohio.
I think Ohio State's up. Ohio State's up there. I mean,
maybe Ohio State. But yes, he. By the way, he has not won a Big Ten title. I've looked it up. He has not won a Big Ten title. He hadn't even want to share. He hadn't even want to share. The year that you were talking about when they played Utah, they actually lost to Ohio State. Ohio State went to the college football playoff.
They went to the college football playoff, but he won. Yeah, he won the Big Ten. Yes, he did. 2016 conference title, 11-2. He was tied for first in the East, and they beat who they beat in the Big Ten real quick. They beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game.
Let me look back at that. I don't remember that. 2016, 11-3.
So what? I can remember. I'll tell you what happened.
That must have been a crap year.
Well, they went 11-2. What happened was Ohio State lost at Penn State. They blocked the field goal and returned it for a touchdown, and they won the tiebreaker against Ohio State.
I remember that season because that was the year. That was the year. That was the
Mm-hmm.
year. That was the year Big Ten did not even have a team in the playoff.
Right, because that was a debate between Ohio State. I can't remember who was the fourth team off the.
Alabama was number 4 that year. I
Yeah,
remember because
yeah.
they were because I'm like, this is an easy decision. It's Alabama. Did you see who Ohio State lost to besides Penn State? I'm just saying, I remember that now. Okay, so yeah, you were right. You were definitely right about that one. But yeah, I think Lane Kiffin's at the top of the list. I'm just going to be honest. I think any team, any college football program right now, Lane Kiffin would probably be at the top of their list. Of course, James Franklin, they saw him, down there at Vanderbilt, what he did with Vanderbilt. Excuse me. And Vanderbilt's just now showing a tip of success, which I was really hoping. Excuse me. I was really hoping for a Vanderbilt upset for back-to-back years against
And so,
Alabama. It
and
just
one more
wasn't in the
thing,
cards.
and one more thing against James Franklin, just real quick, against Michigan and Ohio State, the last 2 national championships, the last 2 Big Ten champions, he is 4-15.
Got to win some of those. You got to win some. I think he's only beat Ohio State once.
Beat Ohio State once. He's 1-9 against Ohio State, and he's 3-6 against Michigan.
So I could handle the 3-6. Like if they were 3-6 against Ohio State, I could handle that. But I don't know about 1-9 though, because that's
No.
it gets to a point, Brad. And here's the thing: Penn State's not like Arkansas. Let's get that out of the way.
No, they're not.
It's not. It's totally different. They have way higher expectations than what we do down here. But it does get to a point where you just become blah. It becomes flat.
And that's kind of where it's getting at.
And that's where it's getting at right now. It's just getting flat. And it may be time for a coaching change, but we'll see. I know his buy's like $50 million, and there's all kinds of other stuff that's on top of that. So I'm not. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that's going to happen there. Hopefully, and like you said, they do have to be careful. And it's not like he won't get another job somewhere else. Somebody will hire that dude. All right, if he can
come to Arkansas for all I care.
Come to Arkansas, James Franklin. We will welcome you with open arms, sir. I don't care if you go 1-9 against whoever. We will welcome you with open arms, sir. All right, let's move on. All right, so another upset that did happen yesterday. What I guess I call it upset. Florida beating.
It's an upset.
Your Florida Gators beating Texas. Brad, is this Arch Manning thing just overrated, or is there something more going on in Texas? Because I tend to believe that it's a little bit of both. I tend to believe that Texas' offense is just depleted compared to what it was last year. I'm kind of giving Arch Manning a pass here. I really am. Because, I mean, their offense is terrible. That's got to be one of the worst offenses I've ever seen in Texas in my life.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. But I think, remember, Arch Manning only started like three games last year. That's the only career starts he had before the season. And none of the starts was on the road. And so he goes to Ohio State, loses a close game there. And then Florida looked like the number 9 team in the country, and Texas just looked awful. I mean, they just absolutely look awful, really, on both sides of the football. I mean, I think they were averaging only giving up like 69 yards of rushing. Florida had 154 yards of rushing. What the heck was that? They can't even move the ball against Miami. For example, and then of course the struggle against South Florida, and of course the LSU game that was they threw 4 or 5 interceptions, which but anyway, yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I'm kind of agreeing with you there, Ricky. I think it's a little bit of both. I think obviously Arch Manning will probably be coming back for his senior year. I don't know if it's going to be at Texas or not. I mean, maybe, but I think overall, I just think it's definitely Texas is not the same as they were last year. Now they're going to have to go against Oklahoma, which Oklahoma's got a very, very, very good defense. Now, what is going Texas's way is that Oklahoma's lost their starting quarterback. That's the only thing going for Texas in that game. So, big game Saturday for Texas. I mean, really is. If they don't win this game and ride the ship, it's going to be a long off season, not just for Arch Manning, but for also Steve Sarkisian as well for Stark.
Yeah, and then and this is kind of where, like I said, they're just so depleted offensively. Do you know who their leading rusher is right now, Brad?
I have no idea.
It's Arch Manning.
Yeah, that was their leading rusher Saturday.
Arch Manning, so far this season, has rushed for 160 yards.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Jarrett Gibson, I think it's their first down back. I could be wrong. He's only rushed for 155 yards.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
That's absolutely terrible. So when you look at this entire ordeal, whatever the case may be, you look at this entire ordeal, this Texas team sucks. Arch Manning.
So you're saying Arkansas has a chance, according to the Dumb and Dumber thing?
According to the Dumb and Dumber thing, yes, Arkansas has a chance.
So
there is a chance. Yes, there definitely is a chance. Let me look here. Let me make sure I got this right. Yes, this is absolutely terrible. This has got to be one of the worst statistics I've ever seen in my entire life. So now I will say Arch Manning has a 60% completion rating. That is garbage compared to the rest of the SEC. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely terrible. He is the leading rusher at 160 yards, which is, oh my gosh, I think our running backs got that one game. They have one receiver with 279 yards, which is Parker Livingstone. This offense is absolutely atrocious. It's one of the worst offenses I think I've ever seen in my life, as far as coming from Texas go, because you and I both know, even the years Texas was mediocre, relevant, whatever the case may be, they've always had a decent offense. Always have had a decent offense. This is one of the worst.
Especially Stark.
Yeah, exactly. And this is kind of the part where I'm like, what's going on in Texas? Are they putting something else in the water? But I'm just going to be honest with you, Brad. And I'm looking at Texas. This might be the easiest Red River, or whatever the rivalry's called now.
Red River rivalry.
I was right. Red River rivalry. Yeah. Say that 5 times fast.
At the Cotton Bowl.
So it's
the original.
Good old Cotton Bowl. This might be the easiest pick I've ever had in my entire. I don't care. You could take all the quarterbacks out for Oklahoma. Let a running back take the snap, and I'm probably going to pick Oklahoma to win. I'm just being honest with you. To me, there is nothing special about.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would pick Oklahoma win right now. But I would go that easy.
I'm saying in general, because you can throw out whatever you want to in the rivalry games. You and I both know that we're not stupid.
Yeah.
This weekend, Arch Manning may come out and look like Peyton Manning. Let's just be honest. He may come out and look like Peyton.
Or he gonna look like Eli Manning.
Offense. Yeah, there you go. You said it, not me. Anyways, but in general. When you look at this Texas team, like I said, either way, anything could possibly happen in this rivalry game. I've seen it to where Texas looks like the best team, Oklahoma wins. Oklahoma's the best team, Texas wins. I mean, I've seen it all when it comes to this rivalry. When it comes to this rivalry, because it is a great rivalry. But to me, I just, unless they just come out, this Texas team is depleted. Oklahoma's defense is going to be able to do whatever they want to, whenever they want to. I think they're trying way too much with Arch Manning. They need to figure a balance out, whatever the case may be, because they have zero running game, which is one of the worst in the country. Their passing game is terrible. You cannot rely just heavily on passing in the college football. NFL, a little bit different. College, no. This is absolutely terrible. I think it's just a terrible experience overall. And yes, you're right. Arch Manning's coming back out. There's no way he's going to the NFL draft after this season.
See, here's the problem with Florida now. No, the Florida fans were probably hoping that they lost this game so it could put a little bit more pressure on fire this guy and get his butt out of Florida, Gainesville. Now,
10-year extension
for a little while. Now, well, he got Texas A&M. He got to go to College Station next week to Texas A&M. Although, Texas A&M played. No, it was ended up being a blow against Mississippi State, but Mississippi State kept that game very close. But yeah, I mean, if Florida all of a sudden goes on a run, I'm not going to say they will because they got a very tough schedule. But I mean, the way they play against Texas, I mean, could I see them beating A&M if A&M takes a day off? Yeah, I can see them beating A&M. They get Mississippi State at home. I think they could beat Mississippi State. Georgia doesn't look invincible.
Stop it.
Kentucky?
Stop it.
How about Kentucky?
Stop it.
The Florida Georgia game last year was a 1-touchdown game.
Yes, but they also had a different team last year. Stop it. Stop trying to make this hard deal.
Oh, it gets better.
That Billy Napier is going to win every game. Kentucky, I'll give you. The rest of them, I'm not sure.
I'm not saying they're going to win them. I'm just saying Georgia's not invincible. They'll beat Kentucky. They're not going to win against Ole Miss. They get Tennessee at home, which Tennessee and Josh Heupel has some reason had no success at Gainesville. And they get a struggling Florida State team.
Stop it.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. They just can't. They might not be able to fire this guy.
That you got a point there. Yeah. Okay. That point, you got a point there. They're going to fire him. It's going to happen. He's going to lose a game between now and then. If he goes undefeated, then yeah, you're right. He probably will stay another year or two. But yeah, he's no. But he would have to go undefeated the rest of the way, in my opinion, just for him to
I think so too. But all those games, I mean, like I say, I mean, and we've seen Ole Miss at home against Arkansas. Ain't like they're invincible.
Very true.
I mean, like I say, all I'm saying is it's not like if you give me, yeah.
But here's the thing: Ole Miss has a great offense. Texas does not.
I understand that, but their defense, as we saw against Arkansas, is not very good.
No, but their defense was great this past weekend. So I'm just saying it depends on what defense shows up.
That's true too, but I mean, I'm just saying.
Or I don't think Florida scored. I think yesterday. Is it yesterday the most points Florida scored in a game all year so far?
No, they beat LIU, Long Island University.
We're not talking about that. I forget that game. I'm talking about games that matter.
Well, that's the most they've scored by far. But like I say, I mean, they're not going to win out. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, this is a schedule. They're playing teams that all has a chink in the armor that's not invincible. Now, are they going to beat Texas A&M next week? No, I don't think they're going to beat Texas A&M because they got to travel to College Station. But again, like you said, rivalry games, you throw out the record against Georgia.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to beat Kentucky. Kentucky's horrible. Although they're not firing Mark Stoops because you know what his buyout is right now? A lot. Yeah, they're not firing him. They'll lose to Ole Miss, but I can see them beating Tennessee. And, of course, I can see them beating Florida State.
All right, then. See, anyway. Like I said, yeah, you make some valid arguments there. I'm not gonna do it, but I'm not gonna, argue with the valid arguments that you have, whatever the case may be. But stop it.
They can't fire this guy's. They can't get rid of him. He's like Steve Urkel. You want to get rid of Steve Urkel, or the Winslows did, and he makes all these clumsy mistakes, and he kind of like Urkel says, "Did I do that?" And then all of a sudden, he becomes like a lovable character at the end.
Oh yeah, he was always a lovable character, but I'm just saying, like in general. But the only thing
is he does some good deeds like winning to make this work.
He stays relevant. All right, let's move on. Steve Urkel was relevant. Florida's not. Let's move on. All right. And Texas really isn't relevant. My gosh, they're terrible. All right. Let's move on. All right, so let's get to brackets. All right, so we're going to release our first. We kind of did this on ATFS last week and actually enjoyed it. This is actually something that's thoroughly enjoyable. All right, Brad. So we're going to start with number 12. Work your way up. Who do you have right now? Of course, this would be the group of 5, or the group of 5 could also be moved up. You may have someone moved up right now. I don't, but
I don't either.
Who would you have right now as far as your number 12 ranking?
Obviously, my number 12 team would be Memphis.
All right, so see now, and I like it. I like that because I think right now, so far, so good. I think Memphis is really been the one that you could honestly say without a doubt, yes, that this could be theirs to lose. But I also don't think you need to count out South Florida. They still have to play each other.
They still
I still
and they're going to probably play each other twice because the AAC is like the top 2 events in the championship game. So.
Very true. And you and I both know how rematches work. So I really feel like the rematch Memphis, South Florida, if it does end up happening. I think it's going to be the winner of those. The one thing that hurts South Florida right now, though, is the Miami blowout, in which I
Yeah.
also understand, because one of the things that people have to realize is that when you're going back to back in environments that are brutal, like Florida and Miami, you kind of got to give them a little bit of a break there. Because I gave them a little bit of a break right now. So what I did is I put 3 teams in there right now that I think right now you could say they have a valid argument. Memphis is one of them. South Florida's another. And I put North Texas in there. But here's the reason why I think North Texas is going to be out. They do not have a run defense whatsoever. Their run defense is absolutely terrible. So I really believe that it's going to be South Florida, Memphis. Don't count out Tulane, but Tulane has not looked pretty. Let's just put it that way. Sometimes pretty football doesn't always win, though.
And one more team to count in there, outside the AAC, Cousin Eddie.
UNLV, baby. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
They're undefeated.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. All right, Brad. Who do you have at number 11?
I have Tennessee.
Okay.
Number 11. They had the close loss to Georgia, which a game they could have easily won. And, I know they went on the road, but they beat a very good improved Mississippi State team. I know it's only by a touchdown, but still, that's a very hostile environment. And like I said, Mississippi State looks very good this year. It's not like they're a bad team. So I got Tennessee at number 11. I guess you could argue LSU. You could say, I just don't think Missouri's played anybody yet, but they'll get their chance next week. They get Alabama at home. And of course, Georgia Tech, they had the win against Clemson, but that doesn't look very good right now. So I got Tennessee number 11.
So I still have Tennessee on the outside looking in. I've got LSU, and I think LSU, even though with that close loss they had to Ole Miss, I still think LSU still looks pretty decent as far as that goes. But I agree with you on the Georgia Tech thing. I think with Clemson, and here's how playoff rankings work, people. It's not just based on what you've done. It's also based on the other teams that done it. Once we get to the top 5, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I do have LSU at number 11. I've got Georgia Tech on the first team out. I've got Tennessee as the second team out right now.
I got LSU as the first team. I got Georgia Tech as the second team. If I had to pick another team as the third team out, actually, I would have Notre Dame. The reason why is their two losses by combined 4 points. Two very good teams.
I would agree with that, especially if they were like that. Because like I said, this is going to change. This is going to change because the SEC is about to beat each other up, and who knows what's going to happen.
And another reason I don't have LSU's offense has struggled. I mean, they only scored 23 points against Louisiana Tech. They only had 20 against Florida, and and that's really because of their defense in that game. So that's why I have LSU as the first team out.
All right. What about number 10?
Number 10, I have Texas Tech.
Okay.
Texas Tech is number 10 only because right now they haven't really played him, but I know they played a very decent Houston team. And I know they beat Houston. They have blown all their opponents out, but and I understand they also played at Utah, but Utah, again, they're an unranked team, but I just got them. I think right now they're the number 10 team. They do look impressive, but they're going to have a chance to move up. They got to go to Arizona State, which that's going to be a huge one. They get BYU at home, which that'll be another huge game. And of course, they're probably going to play one of those two teams again in the Big 12 championship game, because I do think Texas Tech will get into the Big 12. I think they'll win one of those two games to get into the Big 12 championship game. And of course, they avoid Iowa State, although Iowa State did get a loss to Cincinnati. Cincinnati also is undefeated in conference too. I think I would have Texas Tech number 10.
Okay, so I have Georgia at number 10. I have Texas Tech a little bit higher than number 10 right now, and it's only because I think their schedule, their non-conference schedule, I think was a little bit tougher than what Georgia had. Georgia did play Marshall, blew them out. They played Austin Peay. Here's the thing. Here's the reason why I think Georgia. You argue Georgia's ranking. They struggled against Austin Peay. Shout out to Austin Peay. Austin Peay is a much improved football team, but they're an FCS program, Brad. They're not an FBS program. They're not one of those who is just carried away when it comes to college football or anything like that. And let's be honest, Austin Peay has lost to Georgia. They also lost to Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian is a very good. And then
Church
they
of
just beat
Christ.
and then they just beat West Georgia this past weekend. So, Austin Peay is not a terrible football program in the FCS program whatsoever. But there is no reason why you struggle against. They got lucky against Tennessee, Brad. They were very lucky to win that football game, and then they lost so many opportunities when they lost to Alabama. They should have beaten Alabama by at least 2 touchdowns, especially if you catch those 2 passes that receiver, I can't remember his name, that dropped, whatever the case may be. Obviously, rebounding against Kentucky was huge. Right now, I've got Georgia at number 10. I'm almost talked into putting them as the first team. But like I said, I just don't think they've been very pretty so far. But with that being said, I've got Georgia number 10. Who do you have at number 9, Brad?
So, but by the way, speaking of Church of Christ schools, shout out to Harding for being ranked number 2. Anyway, I got Georgia number 9 because of the opposite reason. Because I think that win against Tennessee was very impressive. You go on the road and play at Tennessee at a crowd of over 100,000 people, and you escape with a win, especially when Tennessee has been known to win big games at Neyland Stadium. I think that was a very impressive win. And of course, that game, yes, they should have beaten Alabama by 2 touchdowns. Yes, they did lose that game at home, but it was only about 3 points. So their only loss is about 3 points. And so I think Georgia is the number 9 team I would put them at number 9 because, again, I have that road win. Again, they have a road win against a top quality opponent has the reason why I have them above Texas Tech. I just think Texas Tech has not played anybody yet to get that. Now, again, Texas Tech's going to have their opportunities. They're going to get Arizona. They're going to go to Arizona State. They're going to get BYU. They're going to have to also going to have a tough Kansas team in between there. They're going to have some games that they're going to have an opportunity to impress and also to move up as well. But number 9 for me is Georgia.
So right now I've got Indiana number 9. Indiana is my number 9 team, and you could also argue the same thing. But I think the blowout win against Illinois really put a statement on. Especially, I know they've had blowout games. That Kennesaw State was a blowout. There's another one that was a blowout. Whatever the case may be, the eye test for me, Indiana has not really lost a step or anything like that. But I do agree. But I do agree with you that you could almost argue the opposite when it comes to the scheduling and everything like that. But I still believe that Indiana right now, and of course they're going to play Oregon next weekend. That's going to be a tough one. We'll see how real this really is because Oregon just goes in there and blows them out. You may be looking at Indiana on the outside looking in. All right, who do you have at number 8?
I got Indiana number 8.
Okay.
Again, I got them number 8 because they had played a weak non-conference schedule. Now they did have the blowout win against Illinois, which Illinois did rebound, beat USC, which that helps Indiana. But they did go on the road and only score 20 points against Iowa, which Iowa does have a good defense. But they gave it, well, I'm not going to laugh at them for giving up 15 points to Iowa, but, they did have a little bit of a struggle against Iowa, but that's still an impressive win. I mean, it's hard to win at Iowa, but I do have Indiana number 8. Now, like you said, they have a chance to prove themselves against Oregon. They still got to go to Penn State, which we're probably let's hope that Penn State's ranked when that game happens and they're rebounding. And of course, they get Ohio State at home this year as well. So they got a couple of opportunities, especially with Oregon and Ohio State to win, to make a statement with at least one of those 2 teams.
Okay, so this is where you and I are going to disagree on Texas Tech because I think Texas Tech is easily number 8 right now. And the reason why I look at Texas Tech, obviously Oregon State's absolutely terrible. Hey, shout out to my UAPB Golden Lions for even scoring on Texas Tech. Let's just put it that way. But I think the road win at Utah was impressive enough for me to say, okay, this is a legitimate 5 team. And of course, Utah right now I think is 4-1. With that one loss being to Texas Tech, and they've had a couple of decent wins. But I think the road win at Utah really could solidify them as the top of the Big 12 right now, and I just can't put them any lower right now than 8 or 9 is at this point. That's why I have them at 8. I know Houston's not great, but they're much improved. They're a much improved Houston team compared to what they had been in the last few years where they looked completely depleted.
And I agree.
I had Houston being dead last in the Big 12 this year, and they have just proven it proved me wrong. But like you said with Texas Tech, they're going to have a couple of opportunities. Of course, they do have to play at Arizona State, and they got a home game against BYU. They cannot afford to lose those games. They really need to go undefeated. They can go undefeated. I could see them being in the top 7, but I don't see them being in the top 5 as far as the seeding goes. I think 7 or below is where Texas Tech's going, just based on their schedule. And the Big 12 is absolutely terrible as it is. All right, who do you have?
Well, Texas Tech, going back to them, they go to Kansas State, which that'll be a tough game to win there. It's always tough to win there. And, of course, West Virginia, although not a great West Virginia team, obviously, but not great. They do have a win against Pitt, ironically. But so, I mean, it's a team that could sneak up on them, but not careful. But, yeah, they got to go undefeated the rest of the way. I'm going back to my rankings real quick. I've been looking at it. So, number 8. Number 7, I got Oklahoma. And this is why I got them low. They got a great defense, but with it's kind of like the situation for Florida State and Alabama a few years ago. Their starting quarterback being out. Yes, I know they dominated against Kent State. However, that's Kent State. We know how bad Kent State is. They're horrible. I would right now, and I'll go ahead and reveal my number 6 team because I have Alabama number 6 because of the injury of the quarterback. But Oklahoma has a very good defense. They do have a great defense, but they're going to get a chance to prove themselves against a very anemic Texas offense. Although, again, like you said, rivalry games, like I saw Friday night as well, you throw out the record books, you throw everything out, and Oklahoma's going to have to play their best. So we'll get to see how Oklahoma does with their new quarterback. But right now, I got Oklahoma number 7 because of the quarterback situation at Oklahoma.
Okay, so you and I would disagree with this one as well. I have Texas A&M number 7. I have Texas A&M number 7.
Really?
Yes, I do have Texas A&M number 7. I think right now with Texas A&M and their schedule and everything, like, of course, you can make any kind of argument that you want to. Let me pull that real quick. But Texas A&M right now, I think the road win at Notre Dame has really solidified their season so far. Close win against Auburn. So did Oklahoma. Auburn's not great defense. They have a terrible offense. They're not very good. And then, of course, we did see Mississippi State last week. Utah State. I know that Utah State they only beat Utah State by 21, but Utah State is actually very good offensively. They're just not very good defensively. UTSA, same exact way. And so I think with the Aggies right now, the way that you look at their scheduling, everything like that, I have the Aggies right now at number 7.
They did struggle a little bit against UTSA, but UTSA is a very decent team as well with Jeff Traylor, and they did have a pretty decent win against Colorado State, which Colorado State's a decent team in the Mountain West. So, I mean, I get where you're going with that, but yeah, I could see that. Now, number 6 team, I already revealed it, is Alabama. I know they have had 2 pretty good wins the last 2 weeks. Still can't get over how they play against Florida State, however, even though it was the first game of the season. They have blown the other teams out, but a great opportunity again this week to move up because they do got to go to Mizzou. I think Missouri is a very good team, although they haven't played anybody, but I do think Missouri is pretty good. So it'll be and I think the game last year at Alabama was pretty decently close, so it should be another close game again. I have Alabama number 6. But of course, again, they have an opportunity to move up, and of course, like you said, the SEC is going to beat each other up. So, number 6, Alabama.
I also have Bama at number 6. Last week, I had Alabama down at number 9. This is when I did the ATFS, whatever the case may be. But I think the Vanderbilt win, solidifying their defense this past weekend. They've got a good that Stockton kid is a very good quarterback. They've got I think they have a potential. Now, I don't think they're going to win the Natty.
Ty Simpson, not Stockton, Georgia.
Georgia's the Stockton kid. Ty
Yeah.
Simpson's who I'm thinking
Yeah,
of.
he's good. Yeah.
I like Ty Simpson a lot. I'm a big fan of his. And so I think Ty Simpson, a quarterback there for Alabama, is really going to help them. I don't know if they're going to win a natty, but I think they're one of the ones who could. I think they have that chance to win natty this year, but we'll see how much they do. Who is your number 5?
My number 5 is A&M.
Okay.
I think A&M they have a very good defense. I'll put that out there right now. A very good defense. Number one, they do have an experienced quarterback, although he's might not been playing his best ball so far. But of course, the season, we're only halfway through the season. A&M's going to have an opportunity to move up too. But I think that when going to Notre Dame, winning the game on a game-winning drive, and to a team that only has 2 losses by a combined 4 points, who took Miami to the wire, and of course, going to South Bend and winning that game at night. I just think was very impressive to me. I think they're the number 5 team in the college football playoff. I really like this A&M team. I mean, again, they're not invincible, but they do play some good defense. They play pretty solidly on the offensive end. Still some things to improve on that offensive end, but I think I would have them as my number 5 team.
So I currently have Oklahoma. This is where I have Oklahoma, and I think a lot of it is just because, like you said, with their defense, like Texas A&M's defense, Oklahoma's defense is pretty daggum good too, and that's why they've been in the situation that they're in. You could make the argument that one road win against Notre Dame could really solidify Texas A&M's season so far, but I think the home wins against Michigan and Auburn are just as impressive. Both of them were ranked at the time, which Michigan's still ranked. Auburn's no longer ranked, of course. But you're looking at the time as far as scheduling goes, everything like that. I just think Oklahoma has played a much tougher schedule so far, which is what I have to reward here as far as number 5. All right, who do you have at number 4? Now 4, 3, 2, and 1. This is where it gets interesting. So
that's why it gets interesting for me too.
So go ahead. Who is your number 4?
I will keep Ole Miss at number 4, just like the AP poll had them. Ole Miss, they got a great offense. They have a good win against LSU, but like we talked about before, we just don't know what Ole Miss team we will get. I mean, they allowed Kentucky to score 23 points and barely beat Kentucky. Although
it's fine, it doesn't.
But they gave up. Then they gave up 35 against Arkansas. Really didn't stop them. Now LSU, they played better. Tulane is a good win, but it was at home. And of course, there's a talent gap there. But I think Ole Miss, but again, another team that has an opportunity to make some headway here, because after they play Washington State this week, they go to Georgia and they go to Oklahoma. And then that's really the only 2 games that they could lose. And so as a 2-loss team, they could really easily be in the playoffs. But I got them at number 4 this week.
I also have Ole Miss at number 4 for everything that you just said so far. And tell you the truth, Brad, I think you could almost argue that Ole Miss's schedule is just as tough as some of the ones that are below that I've mentioned. And so I'm not gonna discount the Kentucky one for the simple fact is that Kentucky has always played Ole Miss very well. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Kentucky beat Ole Miss last year? Or was the year before?
They did. They did beat Ole Miss.
And so I mean,
kept them out of the playoff. Kept them out of the playoff.
And that's what kept them out of the playoff last year. So you have to win some of those tough games, and sometimes your defense just sucks sometimes. But I think the level of consistency is what's really going to help Ole Miss toward the end of the season. I don't think this Ole Miss team can afford 2 losses. I think 1 loss they could probably afford. Let me look who they have moving forward. If I can find their daggum schedule, this would be great. Here we go. So moving forward, of course, they have Washington State next. They should beat the crap out of Washington State. They do have to go to Georgia. They have to go to Oklahoma.
Yep.
They need to win one of those games to be in the playoff. They're not going to make the playoffs losing those 2 games. Only beating South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State. For Ole Miss to solidify that playoff, they have to beat Georgia or Oklahoma on the road.
I would say Probably so, unless it was kind of a situation like last year where people started beating each other up. I mean, you
Very
could have
true. Very true.
yeah,
You
they can
could,
still make it with 2, but yeah, I would say because of their schedule, because the only win they would have as would be quality would be LSU at that point. Um, my number 3 team,
let's hear it.
the Ohio State University, because you know why? They haven't beat nobody. And no, Texas does not count. But they have played well. I mean, they are blown out teams. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But and they did go to Washington to win against Washington, although Washington is an improved team, but still not the level. But they're going to have an opportunity Saturday. That's going to be a tough game against Illinois. They got to go at Illinois at 11 o'clock to play Illinois. Then they go to Wisconsin. Of course, they get Penn State. And obviously, the Michigan game is going to be their really only ranked team after that, after Illinois, unless Penn State can climb themselves back up and actually be ranked. But no, I think Ohio State's number 3. I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to do, but they have not played anybody. I mean, yeah, they're going to say, "Oh, we played Texas," but Texas is not like we talked about earlier in the show. Texas is just not as good as they were predicted to be. So I got Ohio State number 3.
So the funny thing about it is I also had Ohio State last week at number 3, and Jacob, of course, he's an Ohio State guy, gave me the weirdest look. He's like, "What?" And I had to explain it. I had to explain it to him. You haven't played nobody yet. Why would I put you at number 1 right now?
Exactly.
I have Oregon ranked number 3 this week. And I think the Penn State loss to UCLA really, really hurt them because outside of Penn State, they've played nobody. They've played absolutely nobody. Oregon State is depleted, and outside of Oregon, they've played nobody. So what? You can run up and score 70 points on basically an FCS team. I don't care. They have played nobody so far. Penn State, overtime win at Penn State was great. But one thing that matters in college football is your opponents that you play. And right now, with the eye test, with the strength of schedule, and plus your top win right now is Penn State. Penn State losing to UCLA really hurt them. I have Oregon at number 3.
I can understand that, but I still think going on the road and beating a Penn State team is much still better than Ohio State beating Texas at Ohio State. That's why I got Oregon number 2. Now, Oregon is doing what they're supposed to do. They beat the crap out of Oklahoma State 69-3, which you said was a Division II team. That's the one they scored almost 70. But anyway, Oregon State, obviously, that's a rivalry game. They beat them up. They're going to, again, here's a thing. They're going to have another opportunity to get a big win. They get to go to Indiana, which Indiana is proving their worth again this year. So that's a 3:30 game. So that'll be an interesting game. But Oregon's going to get an opportunity to try to see if they can get a big win. And after that, they don't play a ranked team again, Ricky, on the schedule right now.
Yeah, it's a weak schedule.
I mean, unless USC could get some wins and become ranked, they can become ranked. I mean, no doubt about it. And in Washington, so they're going to have to hope USC and Washington start winning some games in between now and then, or now and when that game comes up. So I got Oregon number 2.
So the only reason I have Ohio State ahead of them is just for the fact is that Ohio State's big win was Texas, and you and I both know Texas sucks. But Texas lost to Florida does not look near as bad as Penn State's loss to UCLA because UCLA had not won a ball game yet, and UCLA has lost to some terrible teams as we talked
I get
about
it. I get that.
But I think it's that close, and I think until we see them play each other, we may not know who the true number 2, number 3 team is because it's that close. It's literally that close, and I think you and I are both going to agree on number 1. It's Miami, and I don't think. And to tell you the truth, Brad, I don't think it's close. I don't think there's a close second right now. To tell you the truth, when it comes to Miami,
no.
Now, I'm not saying that Miami can't be beat because obviously they can be beaten. But I think right now Miami's going to coast the rest of the way. And the thing with Miami that's kind of scary though, Brad, and this is kind of where Miami fans are kind of holding their breath because of the simple fact is that Miami, for whatever reason, there's always a game or two on the schedule that they should not lose. They will find a way to lose, and that's scary. All right, that's the scariest part about the schedule. The rest of the way, their biggest, like in my opinion, if you look at their schedule, their biggest opponent the rest of the way is on the 17th. They have a bye next week, but it's on the 17th against Louisville. After that, they have Stanford. They go to SMU. You could argue SMU, but
I was going to say SMU, their biggest game because they got to go to SMU.
Syracuse's starting quarterback is out for the year. North Carolina State, but that's a home game. At Virginia Tech is terrible. At Pittsburgh, that could be a trap game. But other than that, Brad, they're going to coast the rest of the way. I don't see a team on here that's going to come within 3 touchdowns the rest of the way. And of course, Florida State was at Florida State. They were trying to rebound from their loss, that shouldn't have happened. But we've also seen Virginia is actually a very, very good football team. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way for Virginia. If you look at Virginia's schedule, of course, right now I'm not putting them up at the top yet. They blew out Coastal Carolina, but other teams have as well. That loss to North Carolina State, though, it's going to hang over right now until they can prove they can beat. So, because the rest of the way they don't play a ranked team the rest of the way, and so the next couple of weeks should be easy for Virginia. They play Washington State at home. They go to North Carolina, then they go to Cal, then they Wake Forest, Duke, Virginia Tech. That's a very weak schedule. So I think Virginia will have to win the ACC to get into the playoff, basically. So that's going to be very tough in general. But with that being said, Miami fans hold the breath because right now they're the number one team right now, but that could change based on their strength of schedule. Their strength of schedule is just not very good.
Yeah, it's going to probably change. And that game, I know it was 28-22 the final score against Florida State, but that game was not really close. I thought that was an impressive win because, I mean, I think at one point Miami had a 28-3 lead in that game. I mean, it was a blowout pretty much. Of course, they blew out Florida, which, Florida, they beat Texas, but again, it's Florida. But I think the most impressive win so far by far is the home game against Notre Dame. And we talked about Notre Dame a little bit. They're going to have a chance to move up, I believe. Because like I said, their 2 losses is by a combined 4 points. And, of course, if they didn't muff the snap against Texas A&M on the extra point, and, of course, they get beat by a field goal against Miami, you could have an undefeated Notre Dame team. You could be talking about Notre Dame being number 1 even right now. But, yeah. I mean, that's just how the ball bounced. But another team in the ACC to watch out for is obviously Georgia Tech. Of course, they got a pretty decent, easy schedule as well. They get Virginia Tech. They do have to go to Duke. With Duke, you don't know what Duke team you get. That's the problem with Duke. Because they blew out Syracuse, and of course, another team. I mean, Cal's another team that you scratch your head. They lose 34-0 to San Diego State, and they're looking impressive the last couple games. They're 5-1. They go to North Carolina State. They go to Boston College, Pittsburgh, and of course, they get Georgia, which that'll be a huge game there. And so that might be the only loss they have on their schedule all the way through until you get to. Until they get to the ACC, could get to the ACC championship game as well against Miami, or Miami could be playing Virginia. Those are the 2 teams I see right now who they could be playing. But yeah, Miami's number 1. Carson Beck, he's probably a Heisman front runner right now. If I had to pick a Heisman front runner, he's probably the Heisman front runner right now. They look very good, but like you say, Miami has been known to have some collapses and lose the team. Like last year, they lost to Syracuse for the opportunity to go to the ACC championship game. And again, it could have been a game that they beat SMU in. And of course, they got to go to SMU as well, which that's not going to be an easy game going to Dallas and play SMU. But I do have Miami number 1, and I think they are going to stay there for a little bit. But like you say, strength of schedule, they'll probably eventually move down. If I had to guess today where I see Miami as far as seeding in the final seeding range, they could be anywhere from 1 to 4. I mean, they could be the number 1 team. They could be the number 4 team just as easily.
Yep. All right, let's get to picks real quick for the SEC. SEC game next week, week 7 already, Brad. We're already kind of, oh my gosh, it's getting there. We're getting there. Definitely getting there.
Yeah.
All right, so 11 o'clock matchup on ABC, Alabama at Missouri. Oh my gosh, what a schedule we have for this coming weekend. Brad, I'm picking the upset. I'm taking Missouri.
I'm taking Missouri as well. I think Missouri beats them.
Bam! Yes, I love it. I didn't think you would pull that trigger.
I'm picking Missouri.
Yes, I think Missouri's offense is. I think their defense is underrated too.
I think Missouri's pretty good. They're a good team.
Okay, Ole Miss will beat Washington State. We're moving on, people. You can go there for $52 and watch that game if you want to. All right, let's see here. The Cotton Bowl Classic, Oklahoma at Texas. Give me Oklahoma. I think it's going to be close. Not be surprised if Arch Manning comes out looking like Peyton Manning.
Well, the Red River rivalry at the Cotton Bowl.
That's that. Yeah. Oh, heck no. There's no way. Texas is favored by 2.5. There's no way.
Oh, that's a betting line to try to get some money on Oklahoma. That's what that is.
I was about to say.
Hey, anyway, I have to tell you after the show. But anyway, I will pick. You know what? I almost want to pick the upset here.
Pick it. It doesn't matter. Pick the upset.
You know what? I'm going to pick Texas over Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma. Texas won this game last year. I know Oklahoma probably the better team, but again, unless Oklahoma can prove to me their quarterback, maybe like I said, they might come out throwing and they blow out Texas. But I got Texas winning barely by a field goal. I think they rebound.
All right, fair enough. All right, next up, Florida at Texas A&M.
Oh, A&M. Easily.
Yeah, it's easily. I don't think it's going to be that much. I don't think it's going to be that much of a ball game whatsoever. All right. Next up, Georgia at Auburn. This could be a very good game.
This is a rivalry game, and Auburn's coming off an off week, and Auburn's got a good defense. I'll take Georgia, but I think it's going to be a very close game. Georgia in a low-scoring, the South Otis rivalry. That's what the game's called, the South Otis rivalry. So, yeah, I'll take Georgia barely over Auburn.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on the same thing for everything that you just said, and I also think it's going to be a close game. South Carolina, LSU, that's an easy one, LSU. And then last but not least, Bobby Petrino in his first game back as head coach at Arkansas, going to Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, to play the Pates of the Volunteers.
The Fighting Pates.
Fighting Pates.
Well, let's say this. So last year, Arkansas was in a similar situation at home, and they ended up beating Tennessee. I do think Arkansas plays better. I do think they'll play better on defense. I think you'll see effort. I think Petrino will have them fired up. However, Tennessee's going to be just too much. I got Tennessee winning 2 touchdowns.
See, and I thought last year's Tennessee team was better than this year's Tennessee team, but they've kind of, gotten to the point where they're actually not half bad. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I agree with you. I think the same thing. I think Tennessee is going to get the best of Arkansas this past weekend. So I'm looking at the Red River rivalry. Texas won last year, Oklahoma the year before. There has not been a back-to-back winner since 2020 and 2021. Actually, Oklahoma won 4 in a row between 2018 to 2021. And actually, the 2018 year when they won, they beat Texas in the Big 12 championship game, and Texas beat them that same year. So I remember that year. Yep, that was a good year. That was a good year of football. And so, but Oklahoma has really dominated this rivalry for a little bit now. But
last 20 years for sure, yeah.
Yep, but overall, Texas still leads the series 64-51 in favor of Texas.
Kind of like Ohio State, Michigan. Ohio State's really dominated the rivalry for over last 20 years, although Michigan's won 4 straight. But 4 straight. But
I really hope they win a 5th one. I really do.
It's at Michigan, and they are a much better improved team since that game against Oklahoma. So I mean that they are playing much better. So
that is true.
That's gonna be a good game.
Right now, it looks like the SEC. It's the SEC conference than it's everybody else right now.
Yeah.
It's my gosh, that Big Ten is terrible this year. All right, Brad. I did not write any of my DAs down this week. I
Oh,
don't even know if I have any.
I got a few. So first
Sh-
off, my first DA goes to this former sheriff in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He's accused of spending $17,000 of taxpayer money on cigarettes, app store games, including Royal Match and Chick-fil-A. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that, except for there's better ways to, if you're going to embezzle $17,000 than to go to Chick-fil-A. I mean, I love Chick-fil-A, but still,
That's not embezzling. Good Lord.
I mean, using taxpayer money to also
Okay,
buy
so let me
apps
okay. Let me ask you this, and
and
maybe
cigarettes.
maybe you don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Okay, yeah, I agree. You shouldn't be spending cigarettes.
He bought 92 packs of cigarettes at the dollar store
at one point or over time.
over time.
So how long over time was this?
This was $17,000 in a 19-page document. Wright allegedly used his county issued credit card at more than 100 restaurants and stores for personnel purchases. Let's see here. He also purchased Sirius Radio. He spent $900 at Fudge Druckers, $345 at Chick-fil-A, and $281 at Super King Buffet.
So what I'm asking is like, how many years was this over time?
It does not say, actually.
I don't think that's that much. That's not bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not saying he's not a DA because he shouldn't be spending taxpayer money. But at the same time, I don't see that being that bad. There's all kinds of stuff that people use tax money for, Brad. I mean, think about it, dude. We're funding other countries right now. I mean, I'm just saying we're funding other countries to blow other countries up. That's just. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, babe. I mean, yes. I'm not saying he's not a DA, but no, that's not to me. That's not that bad. And but then again, where's this at now?
Spartanburg, South Carolina. I've been to Spartanburg, South Carolina.
I've never been to Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Yeah, pretty decent town.
They probably have nothing else better to do than go for $17,000 worth of purchases over cigarettes and buffet and eating everything. It could be worse, South Carolina. I'm just saying. You know what? That town's on my DA Hall of Fame. The entire town is on my DA Hall of Fame. We have people. We're funding countries that are blowing each other up. I don't want to hear
it. Well, my second DA of the week goes to Mark Sanchez.
Oh Lord!
Oh my goodness! So he is accused of being drunk and starting a fight, which ended up getting stabbed in self-defense. Which I posed this question to Ricky yesterday: which was worse, the arrest and the 3 misdemeanor charges that he faces right now, or the butt fumble?
Probably. I think they're equally stupid. I just put it. They're the equally dumb. I swear, man. This dude can't get out of nothing, man. I swear he can't.
He's going to get fired for being an idiot, and he's also going to be known for the butt fumble. That's the way to be known.
I don't know if Fox. Do you think Fox will fire him?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
He's on a work assignment when he got fired, when he was charged.
Okay, therefore you might be right. He might get fired then. He might get fired. All right, who's next?
My next day of the week goes to Bill Belichick for calling a timeout with 1 second left on a 38-10 game. You know, Ricky, if I was the ref, I would almost pretend not to hear him. I mean, good gracious, we're calling timeouts at 38-10. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on now. Now, I understand if it's like a minute left or maybe even 45, 30 seconds left, you want to go through some in-game situation. But come on, man. 1 second, we're going to call timeout at 38-10 game. Come on. Bill Belichick, my DA.
Well, speaking of football, so there was a guy that I kicked out of Pee Wee football a couple years ago. I kicked him out again yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Kicked him out again yesterday. You get kicked out twice by the same referee. That's terrible. That just tells you everything. Anyway, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Bill Belichick, what are you doing, man? You've been doing this for 9,000 years. It's probably your teenage girlfriend that called the timeout for you anyway.
Yeah. My last DA of the week goes to our government for this shutdown. Come on. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I hate to say this. I've enjoyed the sombrero memes and all that stuff.
I really have to.
Come on, let's reopen the government. I mean, by the way, I think these congressmen should not be collecting any paychecks until they open the government up, but they're still collecting paychecks. I just think it's ridiculous. So my last DA of the week goes to our very precious federal government that cannot get anything right.
Yeah, and this is the kind of the part where I'm like, yeah, we need to do something. We keep reelecting the same people in Congress, the same people that keep doing this stupid nonsense. And I'm like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves? It's just kind of dumb. My favorite thing though is John Kennedy. Man, that dude's hilarious. He
is hilarious. He's a national treasure.
That dude cracks me. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer for sure, man. Great Hall of Fame, man. He's good American, everything like that. Man, that dude talk about Alexandria Cortez, which don't get me don't get me wrong. Here's the one thing I will say about it. Like I said, I don't discriminate, y'all. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't discriminate when it comes to things like that. Okay, I really don't, because I will say this: AOC has a good heart. She has some decent views. I'm not gonna say I agree with them. She has decent views that I get. I get where she's coming from. But the part where he's like, she's the reason why there's instructions on shampoo bottles. That's awesome. I don't care, because she's not very smart. I don't know how she keep reelected. Well, she keeps getting reelected. Hey, shout out to her. I swear if she runs for president, I will automatically vote no. I don't care who the other candidates are. It will be a heavy no if AOC is the one that's represent the Democrat Party for the next election.
I will say that my favorite was, I think this happened last year when they passed this bill, or it's like he said, this must be the dumbest person. He might not be the dumbest person in the world, but he better hope that the dumbest person doesn't die.
I can't. We're getting out of here. We're getting out of here. No, we're getting out of here on that one. This is not good. This is not good at all. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this? Hey, shout out to my Dallas Cowboys. Shout out to my Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, the Jets. The Jets.
Hey, but the one thing we can say is at least we're not the New York Jets. Y'all have a good week. Thank you for listening.
Awful.
Thanks for listening to Talking Sports with Nooner and Forrest. Good night, everybody.